You are listening to NH Unscripted and probably about to hear another record-breaking episode. And just like Underdog's alter ego, Shoeshine Boy, I am your humble and lovable host, Ray Dudley. Very humble, very lovable. Yeah. We are coming to you from the incredibly opulent digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, overseeing the city. You can probably find... Hang on, let me get out my transistor radio here. Let me put in my earplug. Let me turn it on to AM. And let's see, 1370... 1450 AM is correct on the AM band. Let me flip over here for a second to the FM band. Yep, let's see. We got 101, 103, 103.9 FM in Concord. Yes, you happy listeners. For those of you in Manchester, you can find us at 101.9 FM, but you knew that, didn't you? For those of you who don't own a transistor radio like mine, don't be jealous. There's a URL for you. You can find this show and all the other great ones at nhtalkradio.com. I need to take a moment just to thank my sponsor. Merry Christmas to those folks at Lakes Region Fence up in Guilford. LRFence.com. LRFence.com. Come on, folks. It's Christmas time. Break down, take some of those bonus checks. Look out your window. You see that piece of garbage that's leaning over there that you're calling a fence? Get rid of that thing. Go out to LRFence.com. You can get a free estimate out there. I'm telling you, you know what? Here's a good Christmas Eve tip. Put on your Santa suit, get an adult beverage, go out to LRFence.com and spend hours with your favorite person just perusing the site. Their fence work is like art. I'm telling you. Go out there. LRFence.com. We love you, Matt and the gang up there. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to them. Well, I have been double teamed today. I invited one person, and then like some kind of a WWE event, I suddenly find someone else coming off the ropes. They're going to tag team me today. Marc Murai, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I've been looking at you for a long time. Right. Now, it seems to me you brought in some heavyweight here. Let me check. Good morning. Who's that?
Let's not talk about my weight.
Good morning, Mr. Pernard.
Great to be back. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me.
No, thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mark, for inviting him. Yeah, we all appreciate that.
I'm like Peppermint Patty, right, in Charlie on Thanksgiving. Hey, Chuck, you mind if I bring my friend Franklin? Guess what? Marcy can come, too.
Yeah, I can hear the theme right now in my head. Mark, I wanted to talk to you about several things, if you don't mind. Can you give us... Mark is an actor, and what else?
Producer, director, dad.
Yeah.
New dog owner.
Oh, okay. We'll have to get into that one later. In
fact, I'm pulling up the LRFence.com site so that I can find a fence, because we're going to need a fence.
It's magic. It works. Out of my mouth.
So, yeah, those are all things. And recently I have graduated with a degree in a Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity from Champlain College up in Burlington, Vermont.
Cybersecurity?
Yes.
What does that entail? Before we get into your background.
Oh, it entails a lot.
Like hacking and
ethical hacking. They actually have a class called ethical hacking, because you do have to have ethical hackers in the world of cybersecurity. One of my favorite courses was, I think it was a PC forensics course, where we were given a hard drive and we had to, like, as if we were investigating a crime, we had to recover evidence from it. And I recovered so much evidence. The professor held up he still uses it today, held up my final, and he said, Marc Murai has found more evidence than anybody will ever find on this
stuff that maybe they shouldn't have found. So, I mean, what's out there?
And still he uses that. He's like, nobody will ever surpass the amount of evidence that Marc Murai recovered from this.
That's incredible. Do you have to get down to like the assembly language level of all that stuff?
No, not for that class. That would be, because this was when I was still at Manchester Community College, where I started my path to my degree. But
dang. Okay. Enough of that.
Yes.
Enough of that. I need to get on to why I invited you. Are you from California?
I am from Monterey Park, California.
You are?
Yes.
And how did you migrate out here? First of all, did you do theater out there?
I did. I was in the first graduating class of the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, which is located on the Cal State LA campus. So I've been acting since 7th grade and performing since the 4th grade. I started playing trumpet in the 4th grade.
Interesting. You can chip in anytime, brother.
Lots of parallels.
There you go.
I gave my first show in 7th grade, and I played trumpet. So
what?
I'm learning lots of cool stuff about Mark
I can
today.
play the spoons periodically if I'm drunk enough, maybe.
Oh, man, yeah. Love music.
So what actually gave you the bug? What did you see or feel, or you're like?
I actually remember. I remember the exact moment when I decided that acting was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I was in 5th grade. My next door neighbor and his mom took me and my sister to go see the musical Barnum at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood. It was starring Jim Dale and Glenn Close as Charity Barnum, but the day we saw it, it was actually Terrence Mann was his understudy, so he was playing Barnum. And at the end of Come Follow the Band, I remember the band members coming down the aisles. I was in fifth row center. Band members coming down the aisles, coming up on the stage. I remember the end of that song with like the confetti and the things going off, and Terrence Mann standing there with his arms up. And at that moment, I looked up and I was thinking, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like this, I want to be him.
And you ended up.
I ended up playing the role. It was a bucket list role. I had the fortune to play it twice here in New Hampshire. So
first of all, I can't believe you squeezed that into the hat box. To be honest with you, I mean,
well, I didn't squeeze it in there. Brian Halperin and Andrew squeezed it in there.
Oh my God! That was incredible. It was a beautiful show.
It was. It is a beautiful show.
I had never seen it.
Oh, you'd never seen it?
No,
oh,
not
wow.
until that one. And I'm like, well, man, what is going on here? I think the closest thing I had seen to it was Hugh Jackman's
The Greatest Showman.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Oh, my wife's got it on replay.
Oh, yeah.
Just sits there in the background, just wearing out.
I hope they turned that into a Broadway musical.
Why wouldn't they?
Right?
Wouldn't it be a moneymaker?
That would be such a great Broadway musical.
Oh, my God.
It's just a matter of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark did a remarkable job in Barnum. I mean,
thank
when
you.
we were
Understatement alert.
holding auditions and everything, Mark just had the look, he had the feel, he had the energy. And really, between him and Cherie Owens, who was the Charity in our production, it was the first major musical in the space. And it was really great to introduce audiences to, again, unamplified song. So you were listening to human beings. And they really did. The whole production was spectacular. It won awards for in a number of different areas.
Including Best Musical.
Best Musical for the state.
And Cherie won Best Actress.
And there was lots of accolades for it.
That was such an incredible cast, such a great ensemble who, stepped up and did whatever, learned how to juggle. And it was just great.
It's funny. When I was watching it, I had this experience of being both removed and in.
Yeah.
It was really kind of an odd feeling because sometimes everything was so big and you're like caught up in it. And then there's these other times where it was so intimate that you're like drawn right in. It was a pretty fascinating paradox, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And we were really fortunate to have a great team working on that. The Halperins were, Brian was directing and Johanna was helping with props and things behind the scenes. And we had costumer Lynn Head, who has been with almost every Hatbox production and Three Witches production. And then again, the cast. Everybody came to it with a real huge
How big
energy.
was that cast?
I want to say it was 13.
Yeah?
Yeah. Not as big as the next musical that was in the space.
I saw that one also.
Which was 1776 the next year, which was some little production company. I'm trying to remember what Mamu Productions, I think. Yeah, Mark produced the next musical, and it remains the second highest ticket sales in Hatbox history.
Wow.
Dude,
and that one had
wall-to-wall
24 cast members.
We had the Vaseline people down so we could get them into the building. They were so crowded.
What I loved about doing 1776 in that space, I produced and directed. What I loved about it is I wanted to turn it into the Second Continental Congress so that when audiences came in and sat down, they felt like they were part of the Second Continental Congress and that they were involved in debating and discussing the Declaration of Independence. And the most incredible thing, it wasn't my idea. Somebody in the cast, I think, came up with this idea. Maybe it was me. No, somebody else. So we had huge copies of the Declaration of Independence produced, but without the signatures. And then after each production, each show, the audience could line up and they could sign the Declaration of Independence on their way out.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And like so many people did it, and it was so amazing. And it was amazing to see how many people wanted to do that on their way out.
Hang on to that. We're going to put a pin in it. Man, we barely started. My God, it's time for ribbon candy and Lynch chocolates. It's Christmas time and New Year's. You are listening to NH Unscripted. I am your lovable host, Ray Dudley, getting handsomer by the minute, of course. We are coming to you from the not overly ostentatious digs of the bunkers of the WKXL Studios, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, 101.9 FM for the happy souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is the URL. We're coming right back, of course. Just like that, we are back. Yes. You know, the sign said, long-haired freaky people need not apply. Yeah, you might get that reference. You are listening to NH Unscripted. I am your happy to be out of the home host, where we're only having mashed bananas and applesauce today because some of us are a little low on teeth. Hey, that's a private thing. We are coming to you from the mountaintop digs of the WKXL Studios, high above the city of Concord, overlooking this gorgeous city. You can probably hear us on 1450 AM. Yeah, I know you can. I know for a fact. 103.9 FM, both of those are Concord. 101.9 FM in Manchester. The URL. All right. It's nhtalkradio.com. There are archives out there, as well as a button so you can listen to us live. This show comes to you every Wednesday and Friday, 9 a.m. Yeah, we got traffic, baby. We got drive time. Okay, done with that. In the studio with me today is Marc Murai, Andrew Pennard. We are just chatting away the time. Let's talk about the impact of the loss of the Hatbox Theater, the potential loss of the Hatbox Theater. Andrew, go ahead, Mark. Did you have something?
No. It's a tragedy. It's going to leave such a huge void in the theater community here in New Hampshire.
Why?
Because in my mind, the Hatbox Theater and Andrew Pennard has done more for local theater artists than anybody else in the state. The Hatbox is a place where anyone can come and pitch a show and an idea, and it's the only place where a lot of these shows you would never see anywhere else except the Hatbox Theater. And just how much it is enriched, not just the Concord community, but the state and the arts community. It's just such a tragedy that the powers that be did not step up to go to bat for the Hatbox Theater when it was announced that that old mall was being sold and redeveloped.
I'm with you. Andrew, those are big shoes to fill, brother.
Yeah, that's very kind of you to say. This didn't spring, out of my head unanointed. This came from lots of experiences in lots of other venues that have, some of which have done this type of model and some of which have inspired my love for this type of a space, the proximal, having the proximity of your audience basically on stage with you, the ability to basically see and be impacted by the impact you're having on them as a performer. But Mark and I actually met, I think, in part because of another theater that was closing. I was running a weekly magic show out of the basement theater of the Ioka Theater in Exeter, and we were doing Saturday morning shows there.
How long ago was this?
This
2008, 2009.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I ran it for a year. In fact, we were the last performance in the Ioka. We were doing shows down in the basement, and they were doing movies upstairs. The basement was a kind of a nightclub space. It was a really cool space.
It was a really cool space.
Yeah, and they had a lot of varied types of events in the space, spoken word, comedy, improv, things of that nature, in addition to the movies that they were having. And it was a really neat space. And I was exploring, working in the Seacoast, and I had come across the Ioka driving through and doing shows in the area. And so I pitched the business owner at the time. His name was Roger. And, he was open to me performing in the basement. And then, that was a situation where, again, it was a small community, a relatively small community, and it was a historic property, unlike the Hatbox, which is, while it is historic, the mall opened in 1990.
It wasn't an official historic thing. That was part of the problem.
Yeah, it wasn't on the National Registry or anything of that nature. But, he had put in a lot of money and a lot of time in trying to get this space up and running. And, it just, for whatever reason, the overhead cost more than the support that they were getting on the ground. And Mark stepped in with a group of community people to try to save the Ioka. And you can talk more about that, Mark.
Yeah. We launched the Save the Ioka campaign. We needed $15,000. I met Roger. I'm still friends with Roger Detzler today.
Doesn't seem like a lot of money. $15,000.
It was when you're starting from zero.
Yeah.
But for $15,000, that would buy us, if we could raise $15,000 to get to Roger and the other owner, the co-owner of the Ioka, that would give us time, that he wouldn't entertain any other people coming in to try and buy it out from under us, or so it gave us time that we needed to raise the funds and to get the community behind it. Unfortunately, the people that needed to step up in the community did not.
Really?
It's sad.
You're saying you did not raise $15,000?
Well, we raised the $15,000.
Okay.
So we bought ourselves some time, but then we needed to raise quite a bit more to actually purchase the building and then to renovate it, and that never materialized. Which was sad, really sad.
And I think it had gotten sold to another developer who had ideas of what to do in the building, and I think ultimately it was going to get carved up to apartments.
Yeah, now it's a brewery and
the brewery, okay, I can go.
I think it's good. I mean, you have to, every property gets redeveloped as the uses change and the desires change and things of that nature. And I don't think that, and we talked about this at a recent producers meeting at Hatbox, that a theater is essentially a space. You can do performances anywhere. It's about the community of people who do it, but you do need a space to do it in.
Yeah.
And part of what you want to do as a space is to make it as inviting and as outfitted as you can make it, to make it easy to do really great work. You can do good work with nothing, but you can really have a bigger impact if you make certain aspects of it easier. So, and I had also been introduced to Mark because he was doing some educational theater.
You guys go way back. I didn't realize.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was the long-term sub for the theater teacher at John Stark Regional High School in Ware, New Hampshire. She was on maternity leave, and I had never taught a day in my life. And for some reason, they chose to hire me over a couple of other people that actually had teaching credentials. And I had such a great experience. I learned so much from those kids. I learned more from the kids than I'm sure they learned from me. But I felt like Jack Black in the movie School of Rock.
Yes,
I literally show up on day one, like, all right, I'm a high school theater teacher now.
My wife was teaching there and was supporting the
She was awesome.
And so, it's kind of interesting how that's all come together. And again, the theater community in New Hampshire is, even though there's a lot of activity in a lot of different places, there's a lot of opportunity for cross-pollinization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the challenges of losing a space like Hatbox is you have so many different production companies working in the space, and all of them kind of get to see everybody who's working in the different productions. So you start to see a lot of talent and a lot of people coming in and exposed to other people, and it makes you want to up your game and really do really great work and to take your work seriously, even if you don't take yourself seriously.
Yeah, there were a lot of shows where I would go, where are these people? How did I not know these people before?
Yep.
How are they hiding under this rock? What's happened here? And now, once you've done it there, it's almost like camaraderie, almost like a club that,
Well, and that's one of the things I admire about Mark and his work is that he's done a lot of shows with a lot of different companies and in a lot of different venues in the state. So he and I share that we like to perform in lots of spaces. Mine doing my magic work, but him doing theater. And he also, I in lots of ways, Mark and I have a similar kind of Don Quixote, let's tilted windmills type of, what? You don't want that? You're going to like it.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
How many times have you played Harold Hill?
I've never played Harold Hill.
You've never played Harold Hill?
I have.
Oh, yeah.
I have.
I was invited to play Harold Hill.
Yeah, I can see you as Harold Hill.
I had to decline it, unfortunately.
Oh, that would be great.
You'd be Harold Hill. You would have been great Harold
But
Hill.
yeah, it's that kind of going to a community that maybe doesn't have all of the excitement, doesn't have a motivated energy, and then being able to come in and supply that and get people excited about doing cool stuff and good work and supporting new spaces and new experiences for artists and audience.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I think we should shift the paradigm here, and because the Hatbox is not officially closed yet, it's still
That's
in
correct.
operation.
We have two performances.
And it's funny. Do you remember the Christmas cartoon called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas"? It had Joel Grey in it as one of the voices. It was this clockmaker and these mice, this family of mice. One of my favorite Christmas cartoons.
Not the Tim Burton version.
No, I love Nightmare Before Christmas. This is called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Joel Grey was one of the lead characters in it, and I made my kids sit down and watch it with me last night because it's one of my favorite Christmas cartoons. And in that cartoon, Joel Grey sings this song called "Even a Miracle Needs a Hand," and honestly, if there are tons of spaces out there, empty spaces, especially right now, right? Tons of empty commercial spaces. If we could just find someone who is willing to give a home to the Hatbox Theater, for a reduced rate at first, or then the Hatbox would live on and go on to even greater things.
That preaches, brother. That preaches. Put a pin in that one. Well, we have to take a break. Yeah, we got to go get some more ribbon candy. You are listening to NH Unscripted, the soon-to-be award-winning show. I'm telling you, I am your getting happier and handsome host, Ray Dudley, by the minute. So glad to be here with my friends. We are coming to you from the incredibly lavish digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. And for you folks in Manchester, you know it, 101.9 FM. NHTalkRadio.com is the URL. Don't go out there yet. We got 2 more blocks we gotta do. Be back.
I wanted to apologize for eating all of the hazelnuts from your nut bowl.
Dang that, man. I was trying to find out who did that. Too many teardrops for one heart to be crying. Yeah, that's 96 tears by the question mark and the Mysterians. I got them in my DNA. Every time I hear that organ, baby, I come alive. You are listening to, you know it, say it with me, NH Unscripted. Yes! I can hear the confetti now falling from the sky. I am your host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the incredibly opulent digs of the WKXL studios, buried deep in the side of the mountain here. We are coming to you from 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. Both of those are Concord-based. 101.9 FM in Manchester. I do want to give a shout out real quick to thecastingconnection.net. Good friend of mine, Jeremiah Smith. It is only for people who do theater. Only for people who do theater. It is a website that is actually an aggregator. And you can go out there, thecastingconnection.net, create an account, and you can sort, believe it or not, by region, by state, by cruise, by summer stock, by off-Broadway. You can sort by age. All the audition notices will pop up, tell you how much money the job is worth, where it's happening, what you need for sides. 50 gigs of music is provided to you as well. Jeremiah, nice job. Love you, brother. Just wanted to say that. Marc Murai?
Yes, hello.
Andrew Pennard.
Howdy.
We're going deep on the hat box here right now because it needs a new home.
It needs a new home. I want to say a little personal story before we start
personal story.
Continue on that. One of the things I'm most grateful to Andrew Pennard for, after I produced and directed 1776, we had a post-mortem meeting, and at the time, it was the highest grossing show at the Hatbox and the highest attended show at the Hatbox. And we're having this post-mortem, and Andrew says to me, you're great, good director, but, you're lacking as a producer and you have anger management issues. And I remember, I swear to you, I remember standing there thinking in my head, F you, I have anger management issues, Andrew. I'm like, who the F do you think you are?
I'm not sure that was in your head, Mark.
Some constructive criticism.
And at the time, I was really upset and angry about it, right? But it was like 2 years ago. I'm driving home from Laconia. I'm driving back from Laconia. I was up there helping Brian Halpern with something, and just randomly this thought pops in my head as I'm driving along the highway, and I'm like, oh my gosh. That moment popped in my head. I was like, Andrew's right. I do have anger management issues. And so I called him up as I'm driving home. I called him up. Hey, Andrew, it's Mark. He's like, hey, Mark. I'm like, Andrew, you remember that during that postmortem when you told me I have anger management issues? And he's like, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, Andrew, don't apologize.
He wasn't really sorry. I'm not going to tell you.
But I said, Andrew, thank you, because I do have anger management issues. I just realized that, and it took you telling me to my face that I have anger management issues. So thank you for having the balls to tell me to my face that I have anger management issues, because I've been working on it ever since I realized he was right. I've been working on it ever since, and my kids and wife, thank you.
Well, I like to think I delivered it more gently than that.
Yeah, we know better. Come on. It's just us here. We know better than that.
Sometimes it's really good to be able to be close enough to somebody to, speak, at least your perceived truth, and in the hope of being helpful.
Absolutely.
And again, I was, concerned at the time because I know that it upsets you, but I also know that the hope was that at some point it would resonate. And I'm glad that it did. And we're great friends.
And I honestly tell that story to a lot of people because you know what? There are a lot of people out there these days that have anger management issue problems.
You tell that to your counselor a lot now?
Yeah.
I think that explains why nobody calls me anymore. He's going to tell us the truth. God knows we don't want that.
Isn't that sad that there are people that get mad at you for telling the truth? Yeah.
But you can be kind, and it's important to be kind.
Yeah. But, so, look, it's theater, and so we all have these fragile egos. And whenever we do something, we think someone's going to shower us with accolades. Come on, let's admit it. And when you're going and you're waiting with bated breath to hear somebody say you did a great job, and they just crap all over you.
Well, I think I had lots of good things to say.
He did.
But timing is everything. And sometimes when you're at that throw, if I've learned anything over the years of seeing, I'm the person who's seen every show at the Hatbox. And I've learned to not say anything that could be conceived as critical when people are during a run. Because the last thing people need to, when you're in the middle of performing something, is to have somebody point out something that now all of their focus is on that one thing instead of the total experiencing of being immersed in it. So, I have learned and grown as a performer thanks to feedback from others as well.
Obi-Wan, you kill me.
At any rate, let's talk about places
and
the importance of places.
I wanted to tell you, I had George Kelly in here the other day, and I wanted to bring this up because not only are productions impacted, but the Granite Playwrights. I mean, you've got people who
that was their sole venue.
Yes, right. Now, what do they do now? I mean, where are they going to go? Where could a group go who's going to write a brand new play? I mean, brand new.
There are other places in the state that accept new work. And I think
some bar.
Well, no, I think like the Players Ring in Portsmouth has been open.
They've changed a lot of their stuff, haven't they?
They have changed their business model. They're mainly producing 90% of their own stuff, but they still go through a pitch process where you can come and make recommendations about productions. But their model has changed. Yeah. I mean, they're really producing stuff, and they really have a bigger thumb on the scale, the creative scale, so to speak. That's one of the things that I think is most important about Hatbox is that we support productions.
Absolutely.
By trying to provide a space that is conducive to them realizing their dreams. And we try very hard not to put a thumb on the scale.
It's not just supporting. You support artists and performing artists, theater artists. And it really, I didn't know that the Players Ring had changed their structure. But so really, the Hatbox is losing the Hatbox is such a big blow to the New Hampshire theater community.
Huge.
Because it's so many artists.
It's bigger than most people, I think, realize.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly, I believe that. I really do.
I do, too.
Well, as
a
venue, we definitely, when you're doing 175 performances a year, 20 productions a year, there are other venues that do that, but they don't necessarily coordinate that. I think of like the Derry Opera House, which is a wonderful resource for that region, and you can rent that space, but the process of getting into and renting the space and what they have on hand.
That's another great thing about what Andrew set up with the Hatbox is you didn't have to come in and rent the space and pay, you need to pay this. You shared in the ticket sale profits. And so it really, like you were just saying, it was the only place for a lot of, independent theater artists and smaller theatrical groups. So it's really important that we band together and find the Hatbox Theater a new home. And
the great news was it was this hub for all these little theater groups that had no home. They work their hearts out. They create plays. They cast them. They put them up. But they need a home because there's just not enough places for people to perform.
Well, Hatbox was always an idea first. It was about building community and providing a space that they could do it in that we would be sharing the risks as well as the rewards with organizations. And it was important to us to provide space for original and new works and for up-and-coming theater companies that couldn't afford to either produce shows in a large venue or to, because it's not just about the cost of rent, it's also what it costs to fill the space. Production values in a 800-seat space, you have a lot bigger production costs getting to that point, and the licensing is much higher. There's a whole bunch of different factors. But I like to think that, the idea of Hatbox is being utilized in different places. The Mill Space in Newmarket is a good example. They have reached out to us and are trying to use some of the Hatbox model to how they conduct business there. And realistically, Hatbox is, while this venue is going away, there is a couple of teams of people who are looking at how to continue to offer some of the offerings from the rest of our 9th season and also look at, full-time spaces moving forward. So we have a number of spaces that are under consideration. Part of it is whether we can afford them or not based on our current revenue model. We are in the process of migrating to a not-for-profit status, which would hopefully give us more access to different types of funding. But, as anyone who's worked with a not-for-profit knows, sometimes you end up putting a lot of the revenue that comes into hiring staff to be able to meet the requirements of the grants and foundations and funding that you're getting. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad thing. I think it's probably a great thing because it increases the awareness of the public at large and gives you a certain credibility that, most people think if you're a performing arts venue, you have to be a not-for-profit.
Yeah.
We've shown that that's not the case, but...
All right. Hang on, Sloopy. It's time for us to go get some Carnation Instant Breakfast and Sanka. We've reached that point. You are listening to NH Unscripted. I am your lovable host. Very, very huggable, by the way, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the deep within the bunkers, historic bunkers, I might add, of the WKXL studios in Concord. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. That's on my transistor radio. And 101.9 FM in Manchester. The URL, for those who you need it, nhtalkradio.com. Yeah, get on your phone. No, don't go out there yet. We're coming back. We got one more block to do. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. I heard that somewhere one time. That's why we exist. NH Unscripted. I am your not losing any weight this season host, Ray Dudley. Yep. You know why? Bonomo Turkish taffy. I'm eating all the candy, Lindt chocolates. I am a pig. We are coming to you from the incredible spa-like conditions of the WKXL studios in Concord. You can find us 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. And for you folks in Manchester, 101.9 FM as well. Our URL is nhtalkradio.com, where you can find all of the archives. There's a live button so you can listen to us live every day. Our show, NH Unscripted, comes to you 9 a.m. on Wednesdays and Friday mornings. Andrew Pernard is with me. Marc Murai is with me. We are chatting, well, about a lot of things, basically. Mainly about the Hatbox. Andrew, what did you say you're doing? Your last show is when?
The last performance in our current venue is on January 10th at 7:30 p.m. We'll be doing one final performance of Discovering Magic, and that'll be the final show. There is talk about having kind of a private event, kind of recognizing the people who really have built the community, but that is still being built. But we do have, we are going to continue some performances outside of the space. In fact, I've already talked with United Shoe Repair right down on Main Street here in Concord.
Do tell.
Yeah, they have a wonderful storefront with a repair in the back, but it's nice and open in the front, and I've known the family for years, the Anacaricos. Well, you might recognize that name from the music theater. So,
oh my gosh.
I've talked with DJ, who's the owner of the business there, and we're going to take Discovering Magic on the road. My wife suggested calling it the Hatbox Annex at the Shoebox. So we're going to do Discovering Magic in that space for at least one performance in February, and then we're going to be looking at other venues to try to do some of the programming that was on season 9. We're not sure yet, and we haven't finalized all those plans, but you can be sure we'll come and let you know about it.
Your tagline could be "Something's afoot."
There you go. That's a show I've done twice.
Oh, man.
I like
Get your
that.
shoes repaired while you watch some magic.
And people will be able to find out information about the changing season and the updates as far as where performances are and when performances are by going to hatboxnh.com.
Thank you.
Hatboxnh.com will have that information on an ongoing basis.
Like
so people who want to come and support the work that we're doing or to help us find a new venue, we would love to talk with you and see if we can
bet you
make
would. Yeah, baby. Come on, folks. Come on. This can't be that difficult. Right? Our listening audience, somebody out there has a place, a home.
Or you know somebody that does, or you work someplace where you know there's this perfect performance space.
I'm with you.
Waiting to be used.
Mark, what are you up to? What's on your schedule coming up?
I will be producing, maybe directing. I'm hoping to bring in a director for a production called Yours, Anne, which is a musical telling of the Diary of Anne Frank. I directed a production at Manchester Community Theatre Players back in 2014, and it's been a show that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. The composer, Michael Cohen, the composer of the music for the show, came up from New York City to see the production. He was really impressed enough to where he is willing to work with me to get the film rights to Yours, Anne. Not turning it into like an indie film, but like in the style of Hamilton and Passing Strange and Come From Away. The filming of a live theatrical production. So he's going to be helping me secure the film rights for that. In the meantime, we're going to be putting the show on at St. A's in Goffstown in 2024.
Wow. Okay, hang on. I'm having an aneurysm. There's a musical about Anne Frank.
I hate calling it a musical about Anne Frank.
You did, though.
It sounds wrong. I said a musical telling. Because it sounds.
Hang on, I'm bleeding on the brain.
When you first hear it, it sounds very wrong, but the show is just.
I thought the same thing about Titanic.
Say tap dancing Nazis.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but
no, it's a beautiful show, and it's just. People don't know it because it premiered off Broadway in 1988, I think, and it was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
If it had come out today, it would be a big hit. But
how'd you find out about that?
I attended the Pacific Conservatory for the Performing Arts, PCPA, in Santa Maria, California. And during my second year of training there, it was one of the productions. So we worked alongside equity actors and the equity people taught our courses and our classes. It was 2 years of intensive actor training. They put on the theater we were working at, attending school at, put on a production of it. And ever since I saw it, I was like, I love this show, and I want to direct it someday. And so I finally got that opportunity, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity again here soon.
So when would that be? When do you say that was?
You know what? It's currently on the calendar for end of March, but I think
TBD.
we might push that out a little because the film rights are taking a little longer.
You know what I really admire about Marc is that he has a tendency to find interesting projects and dig into them and then explore them again in other venues and in different spaces. You may not know this, but Marc is an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker.
You know, funny you mentioned that.
I think that's important. But he digs his teeth into projects and looks for, to mine the emotional resonance of a piece and the storytelling aspects of a piece in a way. And he's not satisfied to do it once. A lot of us, especially in the community theater world, people are like, all right, we've done that. We don't ever have to do that again.
Right.
But, Marc really does try to look at what can I improve? What can I try and do better? How can I explore this in a different way? How does the space impact the telling of a story? And that's one of the things I've always admired about you,
Thank
Marc,
you. I appreciate that. Well, like 1776, my original plan was to have it be like a touring production. Every July 4th, it would perform in a different town hall around the state. That was my original plan.
That would have been great.
It's such, that show, talking about what live theater does for a community. What I love about that show is every single audience member leaves the theater not feeling like I'm proud to be a Democrat or I'm proud to be a Republican or I'm proud to be an independent. Everyone leaves the theater, feeling proud to be an American.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, you were shoehorning people in there. I'm telling you.
It was awesome. It was
wall to wall people.
And we committed to doing it in July so that it was, it was all about the verisimilitude. We wanted to have everybody sweating along with the legislators. So.
And the director or the actors were directed to actually interact with the audience. Like when they were debating something, they could look right at an audience member as if the audience member was part of the Second Continental Congress.
If I remember correctly, in the show, in the performance I don't know if this was every performance, but one of the actors actually handed his cane to one of
it was probably Ben Franklin.
Yes.
Well, we made a this is something that I think came out of the experience and what was available at Hatbox. There's at one point they're having a slave auction, and I lit the show. And I've
been lit in a few shows.
Well, we had moving lights that we used in the space, and what I did is I lit up the side banks of the audience in red light and really put a focus on the character who was conducting the auction. And so the people on the sides were like seeing their people across them as if they were there attending the auction and buying stuff. And it really, for those people who weren't lit in the main bank, it was a particularly haunting experience. But the ones who were lit didn't realize they were lit, and they were looking across at these other people going, oh my gosh, this is, it was a haunting, it had such an impact. And again, because of the proximity and because of the, kind of significant choices Marc made in terms of direction and working with actors and letting the actors have their leads, it was for me, one of the more powerful pieces.
Dude, for people who don't know, there's 26 men in that, right? Is that right?
24, I think is what we had on stage.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. I mean, it really was packed.
Yeah.
It was just, and you did in the audience, you did feel like you were a part of, you were watching this and going to be a part of the vote, and all that, and using the VOMs and all that. Oh, it was just incredible. I mean, it was really, really impressive.
Well, and talking about theater, so, I was asking myself, why am I so passionate about these projects and about live theater? And it's because truly theater saved my life, and I know it saves other people's lives. And just last year, a little over a year ago, I had a very public, very big mental health breakdown in front of a church congregation in Bedford, and that was being live streamed. I can be the poster child for mental illness. Sorry. But I'm doing 100% better today, and part of my recovery process was I sat there thinking, what do I need to do to, get myself well again? And doing theater came to the top of the list. And so
In what way? How does that therapeutically.
When you're working together, especially in a musical, the show that I came out, so I had quit acting years ago. And so the first show I auditioned for and got into was The Hunchback of Notre Dame at the Actors Singers. And I just wanted to be in the ensemble. And because such a beautiful show, beautiful music, and that whole process, the whole experience was so healing for my soul, for my mental health. So it really does.
What a great point to end on. Andrew, throw us a URL real quick there, buddy.
You can go to hatboxnh.com to find out more information and to join the community. I mean, a lot of this is about building and finding a community and being a part of it.
Correct.
Every show is that opportunity to immerse yourself.
Absolutely.
My guest today, Emmy Award-winning Marc Murai. I got to get that in. And my friend, Andrew Pernard from the Hatbox. You are listening to NH Unscripted. I am your so grateful host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the spa-like conditions of the bunkers of the WKXL studios, buried deep in the heart of Concord.
On a mountaintop.
1450 AM, 103.9 FM Concord, 101.9 FM Manchester. Now you can go out to nhtalkradio.com. We'll catch you on the next one.